Retro revivals are all the rage these days, so it only seemed logical that Sega would jump on the bandwagon and take their mascot back to its classic gameplay style. Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1 is basically 2 levels of Sonic 1 and 2, give it a homing attack, and an HD look. The story picks up after Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Tired of Sonic getting in his way, Eggman decides to focus all of his efforts on just getting rid of the troublesome Hedgehog. Plain, simple, effective. That's all we really needed from a classic Sonic-style story. In terms of gameplay and controls, not a whole lot has changed. Get to the goalpost at the end, a giant ring appears if you kept 50 or more rings, jump in before Sonic loses interest to go to the bonus stage, collect 100 rings to get an extra life, have at least one ring to make sure enemy contact doesn't kill you, controls are pretty much the same as the Sonic games that came before it, and Eggman is still the fastest thing alive. The only new addition is the homing attack, and let's face it, it's not new because it works just like it does in any other Sonic game. It can give Sonic a little air boost, nothing game-breaking, just a little extra push. But when I hear it in this game, it sounds like a storm. The power-ups that were in Sonic 1 and 2 return and work just like they used to with no new power-ups or elemental shields. Guess those are exclusive to Angel Island, hopefully just for now. There's a total of 4 zones with 3 acts and a boss fight by itself followed by the final zone. Each zone also has its own slightly different music track giving them a little diversity. If the zones look familiar, well, it's not deja vu. They have an identical look and feel to 2 zones from Sonic 1 and 2 from Sonic 2. Splash Hill is Green Hill, Casino Street is Casino Night, Lost Labyrinth is Labyrinth, and Mad Gear is Metropolis. Even the enemies return to help capture the feeling of those levels. Interesting side note, the slicers are no longer a big deal. They've been slowed down so you can attack them before they can attack you. I'd like to think of it as sweet vengeance, but they're so pathetic I don't get the satisfaction of killing them. I almost take pity on them. Almost. Some zones are clearly easier than others or have you perform certain tasks. Splash Hill Zone has typical platforming with vine swinging and zip liners. Casino Street has a row of cards to run on as well as a platform across, and easily being able to get a lot of lives. Lost Labyrinth has you balance on boulders, go into a minecart, travel underwater, and carry a torch to light the way, activate platforms, and light dynamite sticks to clear your path. And Mad Gear has you running on gears, getting pushed by steam vents, and running away from a wall that's trying to make a hedgehog pancake. After clearing through all 3 acts, you'll face off against Eggman. Much like the past games, he's no threat even if you can't spam the homing attack. After clearing the 4 zones, you'll go to the final zone where you fight all the previous Eggman fights from this game, then the final boss. I won't show you spoilers, but let's just say you've seen it before, but it's got some new tricks that you'll have to learn to avoid, and once you catch on to it, it'll never be a threat again. Even after all this time, he still hasn't made a machine yet that's a threat to Sonic. How sad. As mentioned earlier, if you collected 50 or more rings by the end of an act, a giant ring appears to take you to a bonus stage. Jump in and you'll go to what resembles the bonus stage from the first Sonic game, except now there's a time limit, bars that prevent you from entering unless you have enough rings, and you control the tilt of the stage. If you're playing on the Wii, then you can turn on the motion controls and tilt the Wiimote to tilt the stage. It works better than you think it would, but using the D-pad is still the better option. The goal is to get to the Chaos Emerald without touching the red circles and before time runs out. Once you get it, you can't enter the bonus stage from a level you got one, so no going back and playing the first stage 7 times to get all 7 emeralds for you. Yet they still made it slightly easy since you can retry the bonus stage if you're having trouble. Once you get all 7 Chaos Emeralds, go to any stage, collect 50 rings, and press 1 for... Yes, and he still plays like he used to. Higher jumps, faster speed, and invincibility. But you can still die by falling into pits and getting crushed. And it drains your ring count, so once you reach 0, that's it. Personally, I wasn't expecting them to change that, because if they did, it would have made it easier than it already is. When I first heard it was called Episode 1, I was wondering if there was a subtitle for it. After hearing that some quote-unquote real fans complained that because Sonic wasn't using the old look that it would fail, I wanted to give it the subtitle, Episode 1, The Fans Are a Menace. After playing through the game, I wanted to change the subtitle to Episode 1, Just Give Us Your Money. The game shouldn't take you any longer than an hour and a half to beat, and maybe an extra hour to get all 7 Chaos Emeralds. And that's it. Pretty short, right? 16 years and all you can really get out of it is maybe 2.5 hours? That is not worth the delay this game had, nor the 1500 Wii points to download. To add insult to injury, the game is ludicrously easy. Short and easy are not the best thing for a game that costs more than it should. Sure, most of the stages are worth replaying again, except for almost all of the Lost Labyrinth acts. And this part will stop new players in their tracks. Here's a hint. Light the last torch first, wait, then light the others. There were also a few things I just had to comment on regarding the old school feel. No, not the homing attack, I'm happy with it. I'm talking about when you run up and down slopes like this, curling into a ball doesn't get you any higher. It actually gets you lower. To get higher, stay in your running animation, and when you spin dash off of something, you pretty much lose all of your speed. These aren't that big of a deal, but they feel like unnecessary changes to me, and it would have been better if they kept it the same feel just like Mega Man 9 and 10 did with the NES games. And they had to recreate that from scratch. Personally, I don't care for the music in the game that much. Some tracks do stay stuck in my head like Mad Gear in the final zone, but most of it is forgettable and I'd rather have actual 16-bit music or even better, orchestrated music. Oh, and Splash Hill Zone, it's memorable, but I'd rather forget it. Finally, leaderboards. I've never liked leaderboards because no matter how good you are, someone comes along and hacks the game to give them an impossible to beat score and the servers never fix it. Not that this is the game's fault, but I just had to bring it up because it will happen and you know it. Simply put, Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1 is just 4 stages from the Genesis games given HD graphics and a homing attack. Hopefully Episode 2 gives us more stages, the elemental shields, a better challenge, and worth the money. Given that they show you a small clue from the secret ending as to what will be in the second episode, fans can already look forward to it. Also, if you really want this game, I recommend getting it on a console that has a hard drive. Even with tons of room on my SD card, I still had to put it on my Wii's memory system to play it, and this was the first time I had to rearrange my memory to get a game on there. Once again, not the game's fault, that's Nintendo's fault and I will admit that. Short, easy, but not a broken game and it has its moments. $15 for a download seems like a lot for this, but at least it's not terrible, and playing with Super Sonic and having multiple paths does help a little. Here's hoping Episode 2 will be better. A 3 out of 5. Nothing special, but nothing terrible either.